Friday, December 10th, 2021.
Yes, indeed. That there is the roar of the Wookiee. And that means it's time for Freaky Friday. Yes, we are back. The rumors are true. The band is back together. Am I glad to be back with all of you? And I'll be joining the Wookiees over on the, or in the Wookiee Cave at tfrlive.com/chat very soon for the roll call. Yes, indeed. Scotty Lopez is here. Nacy is here. And guys, it's just nice to be back on air again, hanging out together. And it's going to be a nice, chilled, Freaky Friday. We'll open up the phone lines later on. Things that go bump in the night, the Slender Man, all that kind of good woo. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, and glad you're feeling better. It was kind of nice to take a week off, kind of decompress a little bit, and kind of recharge the batteries and whatnot. And I believe this has been the first Freaky Friday we've done since Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, the three of us, yeah.
Yeah. So hope everybody had an awesome Thanksgiving and all of that. And
you're looking well, man. You're looking well. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Feeling all right. So it's good to be back in the saddle. Let's kick this thing off. And
exactly. We were saying before the show, the woo is not going anywhere. It's okay for us to take a couple of weeks off, a night here and there, and then, I don't know, it reinvigorates one to come back and get into the woo with people like Scotty, and of course, the man, the myth, our paleo-American genius himself, Nacy. How you doing?
I am doing as fantastic as the universe will allow. Thank you so much, my brother from the same Mother Earth across the pond and beyond. Here we are. Hey, Kevin, Scotty, and Nacy. Another Freaky Friday. Can you handle the woo? Because we're going to bring it to you.
Can you handle the woo? That's the question, man. That is the question. I kind of titled it Things That Go Bump in the Night, because earlier on I seen a Slender Man story kicking around. We'll get into that soon, but that creepy kind of theme, things that go bump in the night. And when we open up the phones, if we can even stick to something along those lines, your experiences. We talked about the incubi and the succubi not too long ago. Could get into some of those tales, but yeah, things that go bump in the night, Scotty. I mean, you've got the disembodied leg in the photograph. You've got the ghosts in your house. You don't have to go searching too far for things that go bump in the night, right?
Exactly. And it always seems to be happening around that certain time of the evening, right? Around 3 a.m. Some would call it the witching hour, and whatnot.
What is it about that time, though? I mean, we always come across it. It's like it's a meme. It's a cliche for a reason, right? Everyone seems to be that time of night.
I'm you know what? I'm honestly beginning to start to lean towards Nacy's sort of thoughts and explanation on this of maybe because we're on the total opposites, the dark side of the planet at that time, right? Where the solar rays of the sun and everything is being blocked by the mass of the planet, that maybe somehow that affects the veil or whatever. It just makes it to where things can phase in easier. So I don't know.
You reckon so, Nacy? What do you think of that? Like a magnet?
Convert you all.
It's like a magnetic portal.
Yeah. And rule the world. Sorry. I'm sorry. Well, yeah. I speculate when you look at the different times of the year, the illusion of the year, that when you have the different lengths of night, if you look at technically what midnight was, it was when you calculated the sunset to the sunrise, and the middle of that time was midnight. And now we've been conditioned, or we've just speculated that midnight means 12 a.m. However, if you look at certain periods of the year, midnight, guess what time it sits at? 3 in the morning.
Talking of the times of year, what a brilliant segue to remind people that we have got a global event coming up, ladies and gents, that I am very proud to be playing a little part in. I'll be simulcasting the summer solstice / winter solstice Sacred Rocks and Artifacts ceremony, which will see people from all around the world coming together on the 21st and the 22nd of December this year in a global meditation event where our good friends from our alien ancestry will be laying out the rocks. We'll be showing the rocks on camera. This is going to be, if anything, the last one all in. And remember, when you're talking about these global meditation groups, you really do start to have a bit of a reach. And they think about 15 million people all around the world that took part in the ceremonies that culminated at Uluru. And we've seen the flash taking place. Even our good friend Donnie, he remembers the flash where he was in Australia. We've seen the pillars of lights coming from cities all around the world. Glasgow had pillars of lights going from the ground up into the sky. The Schumann resonance went off the scale. If that's anything to go by, and this is the latest in a series of rituals, ceremonies that must take place at this time, according to ancient knowledge, then just what part can we play in bigger changes that are going on in the world right now? People pray all the time, and that's great, and I encourage it because I definitely think there's something to it. And it's the same with intentions, with meditation. I think with all the upheaval and chaos and woo, yes, woo in the world, I think we have to try and play our part in raising our frequency, rising to the occasion. And there'll be more about this when I bring on Evan and Stephen Strong in the very near future onto the Kev Baker Show. But check out ouralienancestry.net. So ouralienancestry.net. It's going to be a free event. The guys will be streaming it. People like me will be simulcasting it as well. So we invite all of you to take part in something that could be really, really epic. You know? And what else would you be doing on the 21st or 22nd of December anyway? Come on, spare me 5 minutes. So yeah, there we go. I'm excited about this one, Scotty. This is...
Yeah.
I think there's something to it, you know. We talk about 2012 and things like that on the show before. Changes, more fool us. More fool us for trying to put a number on it. But we're definitely in that window of time where big changes are taking place. A fool can see it, you know. So I think there's something pretty special about what's going on right now. And I'm just excited to be here to witness it, if nothing else.
Well, we talked about it on Monday. Sorry, Scotty. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, the level of woo, you know, that Evan and Stephen Strong like bring to the table, and just everything going on with that is, you know, amazing. And like Kev said, you know, I mean, we can see the power of everybody sort of getting together and having a sort of collective sort of intent, however you want to describe it, you know, a ritual or mass meditation or praying or something, but what it is it's getting everybody to focus their intent on one thing, and that's a very powerful sort of thing. And you know, I remember Coast to Coast AM doing experiments like that all the time, telling the listeners to focus on focus on something, like to maybe make it rain in a certain area or something like that. And, you know, seems like they've been successful in doing things like that before in the past. So, no, it's really cool. So, yeah, check it
With
out,
that
everybody.
focused, that focus or that intent, any opportunity that you can get even if it's a few, or a dozen or 15,000 people to gather at a precious moment with focus and intent, how can that be a bad thing? Well, I guess if they're focusing on negativity, but if they're focusing on positivity, that just can't be a bad thing. So
Exactly.
I'm all for these. Of course, I always get, as most of the audience knows, if you're not new, I always get triggered when we talk about the solstice in a calendar date event. Because right now I'm on my, excuse me for my hubris, but right now I'm on day 5 of my winter solstice fast in the Northern Hemisphere. Something that my ancestors, the Anishinaabe people, did, fasting, ritual, ceremony. And it's really interesting. Last Sunday, because what I do majority of the days is I will go to my Siri and I'll say, hey, Siri, what time is sunrise? What time is sunset? What time is moonrise? And what time is moonset? And it's interesting. You would think Siri would have adequate times. But then when you look at series times with I got a couple apps on my phone also that say sunrise and sunset, and they all conflict with the time of sunrise and sunset and moonrise and moonset. So it's really frustrating, and unless you have like a super high telescope and you can see the actual sunrise and sunset to get a more accurate count, I guess, but my Siri said for 5 days in a row that sunset was the exact same time. And that just doesn't happen. It does not happen. Usually it's between a minute and a half and 3 minutes exchange of sunrise and sunset every day, whether the day is getting shorter or the day is getting longer. And I think for the first time ever, Siri told me that it was 5 days in a row of the same sunset. So I can't explain that. I don't, is screw up on Siri, or is there actually something, how do you hypothesize a constant sunset?
I think
go ahead.
I think Bezos needs to invest some of that money that he put into the clock that the doomsday clock that he's building into the side of a mountain.
Yeah, good call, man. Good call.
He needs to invest some of that money into buying Siri a telescope so she can accurately track what's going on with the celestial bodies that surround us. So
something that though, isn't it? I mean, what he's building, it's like, I mean, it could launch a bajillion conspiracies, right? But it's some piece of kit. And then I found out the other day, last night, I was listening to a group. Big shout to Danny and the UU group, everyone over there. But they were talking about something. A new monolith, right?
Oh,
the mysterious black monolith that will record our extinction.
Oh, nice.
Says there can be little doubt that our civilization, which has accounted for only an insignificant speck of geological time, is facing a bleak future. We as a species have proven to be self-destructive in many ways, from war to atrocities, to using up our resources unfettered and contributing to the deterioration of our environment through the rampant destructive activities It goes on here, looking at the way things are on the planet right now and the direction we are headed in, it's not hard to imagine that our days might be numbered. The lifespan of our ever-evolving domination of this planet finite. It seems that there will likely come a day when it is all crumbled, once great cities lying in ruin or submerged by the sea, perhaps only a few scattered pockets of humanity left, or maybe no one at all, just a vast wasteland full of ruins, ghosts of the past, and the few species able to adapt and survive in the harsh new conditions brought on by climate change and pollution. There may come a day when where all that we take for granted around us will be long gone and forgotten, with no one left to even tell what has happened. However, one team of scientists aim to record the world's trajectory towards chaos and oblivion for whoever might find it in some apocalyptic future, with a vast and mysterious steel structure called Earth's Black Box.
Ooh.
If I open this up here, we'll actually see a picture of this thing. It's like just a giant slab, a monolith. It's going to be in the Australian state of Tasmania. It's a city bus-sized structure, indestructible to the climate crisis itself, and meant to outlive us humans. I'm going to post that over in the TFR chat room for anyone to have a look at. And don't you worry over there, I have not forgot about you. No.
Is this a square box?
It's more like a,
box?
would that be is it a rubus? It's like...
Rhombus?
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, something like that. It's very interesting.
Says let's see. Eventually says with its thick steel walls, battery storage and solar panels. What's it need that for? Does it fly? The developers of Earth's Black Box say that the city-sized or city bus-sized structure will be indestructible to the climate crisis itself and meant to outlive humans. The box will act as an indestructible and independent ledger of the health of our planet. Jonathan Kneebone, artist and director of the artistic collective Glue Society. What a role to have. Who knew?
Look, I'm sorry. I can't take anybody seriously who's got the last name of Kneebone.
And then declares himself to be like the artistic collective, the director of the artistic collective called Glue Society.
The Glue Society.
This is like a bunch of wokelings have got together, haven't they? A bunch of wokelings have got together and but I don't know, man, monoliths. What's that all about? Where are we going with that?
What's that crazy group that's always protesting for
Extinction Rebellion?
Yes, this sounds like some sort of stunt that the Extinction Rebellion.
It is. It's like, look, it's sitting there all artistic-y and all that. Look, oh man.
Yeah.
Just waiting for a bunch of apes to come along and find it, you know?
Then
I'm still waiting for in the future where they come here on Earth and they find like a full box set of Star Wars and they interpret it as our creation or Bible story.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Like they go digging down and they find like somebody's like collection, like some Star Wars geeks like collection of all the Star Wars stuff, and they think that probably that's what our society was based around, or or something like that.
It's a better story than the truth.
One thing, if I may segue into something else, are you still this crazy monolith thing?
No, we go where the flow takes us, Nacy.
Well, we're talking about the solstice and all that stuff and recording our demise. Interesting enough, did you guys catch that last? And I was kind of bummed out about last Freaky Friday, but absolutely understanding. But it was the new moon and a solar eclipse.
Kind of with me being poorly sick. That kind of, I had no idea until you told me right now. There you go.
Yeah, so that was another reason why I'm like, oh, geez, I better start fasting. Something about this seems a little significant, but I did wait till Sunday. But
So if anything goes wrong, it's your fault for waiting till Sunday. We know who to blame, Scott.
I'll take the blame. Go ahead.
We caught him. Clip that.
Back to the monolith thing real quick. I believe our buddy Jimmy Jean in the chat said that this monolith is recording information in real time.
Nice.
That's why it's got the solar panels and everything. If I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, but
this is like something of a Star Trek episode, though, right? They land on a planet and there's a big kind of monolith thing there. Data taps into it, you know. Good episode, man. Good episode.
Instead of the strange old monolith that we find, we're the ones creating the monolith right now.
For the next cycle.
It's just too bad that the monolith is being created by a bunch of wokelings. Just it doesn't
we need to,
right.
you know, do you think though, guys, right? What about under the layers of maybe Africa, anywhere, Australia? What if there is already a monolith that we done in a previous cycle? Nothing new under the sun, right? Nothing new under the sun. And as a civilization, we don't have a long enough recorded history that we can trust as to what all of the things going on in the world right now really, really mean. Earthquakes,
the history,
the stuff going on in space, all that kind of stuff that if we knew from a previous cycle, if we had gone through this before and retained the knowledge somehow, we would know exactly where we are right now. Does that make sense, Scott? Or like it's weird.
Well, I mean, I was thinking, you know, what if that's what some of these sites are, right? Like Göbekli Tepe.
Yep.
Or, you know what I mean? Why was it covered up? To be preserved. You know, that they obviously wanted somebody to find it later on for whatever reason. Maybe that's because it was...
We need to know how to fire up these rocks, eh? That we're saying we need to find the way to like activate them, for lack of a better term.
Maybe these monoliths are just laying around in plain sight. You know what I mean?
Like that when I go to an Inverness Clava Cairns, looks like just a mundane stone circle, but you know, if you activate it and you get it going and it's got to have that noise. Then you know.
Yeah. What are these things recording, or what kind of information do they actually hold, or you know? No, I mean, because some future civilization is going to find this Earth's black box monolith, and they're not going to know how to activate it. Maybe solar power or whatever that's being utilized to power this thing is not even a concept by that time. You know, it's ancient technology that doesn't even resonate with whatever civilization finds it at the time. And then they're just going to be like, well, how do we activate it? It's just a slab of something that's sitting here.
We have gone deep woo early, boys. We have gone ball deep on the woo early, like real early here.
Well,
yes,
you know, when we talk about UFOs and visitors and stuff, you know, with right now how they're rushing to get into space. So if there's extraterrestrials, and I do believe there is, that if they're checking us out, do you think these individuals that are going hardcore to get into outer space have not been visited? Don't you think that extraterrestrials would have visited them and just been like, hey, what do you guys think you're doing? Didn't we tell your government you can't go beyond the ionosphere or the Allen belt? We told you. What are you doing?
Those pesky aliens. We're almost on the break, boys. We're almost on the break. Can you believe it? Wow. We didn't even get to the Slender Man yet. We weren't even getting into things that go bump in the night. Monoliths for future civilizations, be it alien visitors in the future, be it the next cycle round. Yes, that's right, folks, the next cycle. We might be here at this crux moment for the cycle that we're in right now. But it's cycles within cycles and psychos, as Kevin would say. Yes, indeed.
You know, it's going to be really unfortunate, Kev, when that future civilization goes to activate the monolith, but they can't do it because they did not use the proper pronoun.
Oh. I get you. I get you. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's Slender Man after the break, Scott. How does that sound?
Yep.
Sound good to you?
Right after the Wookiee cave.
Okay, a Wookiee cave when we come back. Yes, indeed. Let's see. We've still got about 5-10 seconds to go. So let me remind people before we go and get a little drink of tea or coffee, maybe something stronger. Don't go anywhere after Freaky Friday because it's Paranormal Portal. Yes, indeed. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. There we go. We'll be back in a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere. Let's see. There we go. We'll be back in a moment. Remember to hit like, hit share, and we'll be back in a moment with more woo Slenderman on the way. And we want to hear your woo as well. We'll be opening up the phone lines later on. So we'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. Yes, indeedy, that there was the roar of the Wookiee. We're back, and yes, we are live. The Wookiee is on one today. Talking of Wookiees, guys. Very quiet over in the Wookiee cave today, but I am over there at tfrlive.com/chat. Want to give a shout out to Sophia the robot, our very, very lovely lady behind the scenes and with her own show as well. Lucky over there in the chat room. We have got Bam. Bam keeps everything ticking over, usually when I'm on KBS, when I don't know if I'm live or not, because I'm a nightmare. We've got Carol over there as well, who said that they should have made a pyramid. They should have made a pyramid or instead of the monolith, and it makes one ponder whether there is a way to view our pyramids as perhaps containing the information that we need right now. But I'm just saying, we've got the helpful Earthling, gentle guest, and AP1, Alpha Papa 1. It sounds very kind of deep statey. I like it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better get the white hats on that.
Forget the white hats. Let's get the Slender Man on it, Scott. Get the Slender Man on it.
Nice. So let me there we go. Got that pulled up here. Thoughts on the Slender Man and a sinister phenomenon. Always love me some good Slender Man stuff. Yep. And I think no better person to really break down Slender Man than Nick Redfern himself, right? I mean, that's what we were talking about whenever you're able to get him on the show, and we
it feels like a Mandela effect, doesn't it? Some people remember when we had Nick Redfern on, some people don't. Yeah, it happened. It did, definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely happened because I was there.
Yep.
And
Johnny Whistles. Oh, it was epic. He was meant to stay for 1 hour. Kidnapped him for 2. Usual KBS style. It's how you roll.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see what Nick's got to say about the Slender Man, because he's continued to follow the phenomenon and kind of provide updates and stuff on it. So.
Which in itself it's amazing when you think about it, right? Like the origins of it. An internet contest about a character, a thought, the tulpa, and how it's risen to such levels where there are books on it. There's people, like you say, Nick Redfern follows it. It's an ongoing thing, and it always gathers. There's always an energy to it, It's not going to go away.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Usually something like this is sort of an internet fad for maybe a year or two at most, given how quick things sort of cycle through internet culture. Memes come and go and things like this come and go very, very quickly, but this has seemed to be a thing that has a sort of a lasting, sustaining sort of thing going on with it, and it's spread beyond the internet. So that's kind of a aspect of it that I think is kind of wild as well. So all right, let's see what we got going on here. There's absolutely no doubt at all that we would not have a Slender Man phenomenon had it not been for Eric Knudsen. In a strange fashion, he created the creature, though that was surely not his intent when he lit the flame. Or was it? I mean, that's the question we have to ask as well. I mean, what was really the intent behind the creator of Slender Man?
And was it an original creative thought, or did he discover it? Was it always out there waiting to be discovered?
That's the thing. I mean, where did he pull this idea from? Right? It obviously existed in the ether somewhere, just waiting to, see, we're already getting.
That's even creepier, man. That's even creepier. Just the thought of this character just lurking in a quantum field somewhere, just waiting for somebody to to activate them, to give them solidity, to stop the spin, man. Whoa!
Whoa.
We need to take time off more often, boys. I tell you, the woo is uber Grippenführer level woo.
If there's a lot of ooga boogas in the phantom zone, if we think hard enough about them, do we release them?
Oh, you see, now we're talking, man. This is what I'm talking about. Do we create these characters, or were they just always there to begin with?
I'm of the belief that they've always been there, but
Sinister. Oh,
yeah. So,
anywho,
when on June 10th, 2009, he created the Slender Man. Knudsen probably had no idea as to where things were destined to go. Who could have foreseen what was to come? Probably no one. With hindsight, though, we should not be overly surprised that the posting to Something Awful of a pair of doctored photographs should have provoked such widespread interest, obsession, and even, eventually, disturbing mania.
There's Donnie Down Under, Scotty. The Dreamtime is a story about it. Oh, see now, that's deep. That's creepy woo. Nothing new under the sun, bro. Nothing new.
No. After all, Knudsen's creation was an ingenious and eerie patchwork collection of the best parts of some of the most menacing figures that dwell in the domain of the supernatural. Mothman, the Men in Black, the Shadow People, and the Mad Gasser of Mattoon were just a few of them, taking inspiration from the writings of Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft, only added to the freaky flavor. Indeed, combining the Men in Black and tentacle-waving Cthulhu is all but guaranteed to catch people's attention. And as history has shown, it did exactly that. Big time. So maybe if you want to look at it from this aspect, where's H.P. Lovecraft pulling from?
Yep.
Kev, where was Stephen King pulling from when he's coming up with a lot of these ideas? Once again, these were ideas and thoughts that were already out in the ether, and then he's still pulling from something that they were pulling from, and what were their inspirations and what were the inspirations for those? It's just a new spin on something that has been there and been talked about from probably the beginning of time, right? Whatever this dark entity, shadowy figure,
Ooga
booga, this is just its current iteration and the way it's taking form, so very interesting. So, but what really stood out was the incredible speed with which the phenomena of the Slender Man grew. Note what Ian Vincent had to say on this very issue. The thing that really specifically grabbed me and made the story interesting enough for me to write articles is the rapidity of it. It was, as Vincent rightfully noted, the right monster at the right time and for the right audience. Vincent is not wrong. At specific times throughout history, certain things do seem to gel. The rise of the Beats in the late 1940s, the birth of British rock and roll, the punk rock explosion of the 1970s, and of course, the dawning of the internet, the latter without which the Slender Man would surely never have come to life. Or at least his position in today's culture would certainly be radically reduced and marginalized. So, it was kind of maybe what you would call a perfect sort of storm for something like that to go viral and catch
And like you
everybody's.
said earlier, I mean, when you think of the longevity of a meme on the internet, 5 minutes at
Yeah.
best, right?
Mm-hmm.
DJ Bison donated £2 through Super Chat. We like to party. We like to party. #Bojo.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, so, but like, for this to have gone on as long as it has, I suppose you could compare Momo-ish. It's had a bit of a long run.
Yes.
But this is almost like, it's an anomaly, right? Because usually it's here today, gone tomorrow in internet land. But not the Slender Man.
Yeah, and like even the Momo thing has pretty much died out.
Yep.
I don't even hear nobody talking about Momo anymore. And like,
It's the first time I've heard of it in probably over a good long while. Just us mentioning it here.
Yeah, and like my younger siblings, I think I brought up Momo not too long ago, and they were like, "What?" And then they're like, "Oh, I kind of remember something like that a long time." So that's already kind of faded. And
Yep.
we bring up Slender Man, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know Slender. Oh yeah." So it's still a thing. It's still a thing. So the Slender Man came along at what would turn out to be, for him, just about the most fortuitous time possible in the history of human civilization. Even before he became a supernatural entity that stepped out of the confines of the net and into our world, the Slender Man was already influencing minds, and to the point where Eric Knutson's original posting was quickly added to, elaborated on, and then went on to spawn a wealth of Slender Man-themed blogs, websites, the Marble Hornets series, and even a Wikipedia page on the old Slim himself. None of this occurred in weeks or even months. It all happened within days. Wow, that's crazy. For something like that to blow up like within days like that. The amazing speed with which an idea became an undeniable phenomenon almost certainly, although probably unwittingly, led to the creation of a second Slender Man. Eric Knutson's fictional freak had a rival of sorts. It's a rival that in many aspects is seen as far more significant and dangerous than the original version. I am, of course, referring to the thought form Tulpa version of the Slender Man, which may have been born out of chaos magic. If one was not enough to send chills through the minds and bodies of thousands, soon there were two of the damned things, as was made clear when, on November 6, 2009, George Nuri at Coast to Coast AM opened up the airways to allow Slender Man witnesses to discuss their experiences with the made-up monster. So the Tulpa thought form version was starting to
have real-world effects, man.
Yeah, this is when it started jumping from the net to things were getting a little bit more freaky with it.
Bit squirrely.
Yeah, a bit squirrely.
Do you guys remember when Google Video was before YouTube?
Oh yeah, man! Back in the day. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember specifically the years, but I remember my brother turned me on to this video diary called The Thin Man. And in it was this young guy, 22, 23, and he was like a video reporter, I think is what he called himself. And he started investigating this thing of the Thin Man. And while he was going around, when he was taking video, he wouldn't see anything. But then when he would review the video, all of a sudden there was a thin man, all in black, with a, if I remember right, he had, oh dang it, what are those men in black hats called? The
fedora?
Yeah.
But fedora, yeah. And he had a fedora, and he was very pale. And he kept seeing this individual in his editing of his video. And then as time progressed, the entity kept getting closer and closer to the camera.
Ooh.
And then
man.
he tried just by like putting his camera out his apartment window and recording it, like recording 20 minutes. And then he would go back to playing the video. And in the video was the Slender Man getting closer. And then all of a sudden, the guy disappears. And his friend, and it's the friend that's releasing this videography thing. His friend comes to, like, where the heck are you? Comes in, has the key to his apartment, allegedly. And he comes in and he's like, what the heck? And he starts going through his stuff of what he's doing. And then he comes upon his video bay or recording bay or whatever it is. And he starts looking at these videos and he starts seeing all these different videos and notes about the Thin Man.
Wow.
And so when I first learned about the Slender Man, I was a little argument about like, oh, you mean the Thin Man? And then they were like, no, the Slender Man. And then they explained to me about this new phenomenon of the Slender Man. So as we were talking about, do we create them, the tulpa? What if, throughout the years, how things get how the words shifts in meaning, or we use different words to explain the same thing. What if historically, since the time of dawn, there are these slender men, these thin men, these,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
John Keel would throw in the Men in Black in there as well. But they're like an entity more than an individual,
Right.
Yep. The TV show Fringe as well. They've got a creepy kind of feel to them, the Observers. There's 12 of them. I've named after the months of the year, but they've got the fedora going on. They've got this kind of out of time, out of reality feel to them. It's like that. This is a thought, an energy that's always there, right? In one way, shape, or form.
What if they're the recorders for these monoliths, and they just walk around and they record what's going on?
I like that, dude. It's like the continuum, the time continuum. You've got that 17th letter of the alphabet in Star Trek. I can't bring myself to say it. I've definitely played about with that thought, guys. Definitely, like some ancient race of beings that are literally, they record everything,
Yeah,
and they claim to be like Switzerland. They're neutral. They're just the recorders.
So they say, but I don't know. I've got a whistleblower. Yeah, joking. If I ever come on air and say I've got a whistleblower, I expect these two guys to absolutely hound me to death. Yes, indeed. No whistleblowers here on Freaky Friday.
You have a Johnny whistleblower.
Look. If you ever tell me, Kev, that you have a whistleblower, you're gonna have to tell me immediately who it is.
Yeah, I'll have to reveal. I'd have to, dude.
You have to reveal your sources. I'm sorry.
Just saying it's a white hat and it's a need to know basis ain't not gonna wash, right?
Insider information.
Because that's what happens in the real world, folks. The insiders run to YouTubers like people like me and Scott, and they say they don't, but hey.
Hey. So
Slender Man.
Let's dig into some more Slender Man here. Time and again, we've seen examples of how the human mind can, and under the right particular circumstances, bring to life some form of entity that is purely a construct of the human mind. Yes, the likes of Alexandria David Neal and Dion Fortune went out of their way to deliberately try to create tulpas, and they succeeded in doing so, though they found to their costs that their mind monsters were not their friends, that they were hostile.
Mind
Mischievous.
monsters. Ooh.
Oh, mind monsters. Dangerous and malevolent beings. There is, however, a big difference between what was happening with Fortune and David Neal nearly a century ago and what is happening now in our society and culture of the early part of the 21st century. Both women consciously tried to create and succeeded in creating tulpas. There is, however, very little evidence or testimony that suggests large-scale attempts have been made to create a real-world Slender Man. Instead, what we have today is a massive fascination for and a belief in the Slender Man. That collective fascination and belief, particularly in relation to its teenage following, has led to the inadvertent creation of the Slender Man rather than a deliberate one. So just the fact that it became a meme and it sort of exploded into the mass public consciousness at such a rapid rate created an unintended tulpa, I guess you could say, right? Like everybody was so focused on it that they were able to kind of bring it into existence by focusing so much attention and thought on it. Yeah, possibly. Or, or maybe that was the whole intention of this entity.
This is the thing,
to escape.
Remember Richard Allen Miller, Doc Miller? We've had him on the show a number of times, and he talks about men having to be careful about the thoughts that they have. I think there's a whole level of magic there that we just ain't really privy to. We don't appreciate it. We talked about the upcoming ceremony on the winter-summer solstice with the guys down under and people around the world. The intention, the meditation, the power of thoughts and the energy that we unwittingly put into some of these things. And it really does shape our reality around us, I don't think we appreciate just how powerful we are when it comes to little, I don't know, intention generators, for lack of a better term.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can see the power of intention just in your day-to-day life. If you constantly focus on negativity, then you're always going to be experiencing negative things, and you're never going to experience anything positive, right? So if you're a negative person and you always think that the world is out to get you and you're never going to catch a break, and you wallow in your own self-pity and you're never motivated to go out and do anything, well, you're going to perpetuate that, and it's going to continue to feed into itself, right? Because you're putting out that negative vibe. Whereas if you start putting out a positive vibe or positive intentions, and you motivate yourself to go and do things, and then something positive happens, and then in return, here we go, it becomes it starts feeding into itself. Then another positive thing will happen, and then more positive things will happen. And next thing you know, everything around you, hey, wow, everything around you is going to be going all right. So just on that sort of base level, you can see how just your intention and shifting your kind of perspective on things and sort of changing the vibe literally changes the reality around you. So, yeah, that can be done. That can be scaled up in a mass sort of consciousness form as well.
What say you, naysay? We've got about a minute before we go to the break, man.
The power of intention compels you. And if you can find positivity, then why not do it? Try to focus, direct it. It's kind of like I heard Ken Wielder say, a 5-watt light bulb doesn't do much, but if you condense that light bulb into a 5-watt laser, it'll burn a hole in your butt. So focus, the intention, I think would bring about a better result.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, and before we go to the break, let me remind everyone just quickly to check out our alienancestry.net for all the information you need about the upcoming global event taking place on December 21st and 22nd with Evan Stephen Strong, a whole host of other people. I'll be simulcasting it as well. We'll be getting into it and we'll be helping to throw some positive vibes out there, ladies and gents, at a time when we need it, from the Australian Aboriginal people to all the way to the Hopi. We are being told this is a time of change and you can play your part. We'll be back on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
What all the conflict is about. Grab my things. It's time to go now. I don't think that I can stay here anymore.
There we go, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment. More from the Woo Crew on Freaky Friday. Hit share out there. Let's see who we've got. Let me head on over to YouTube land. YouTube land. There we are. Let me pop out the chat. And in no particular order, well, that is, it's the way I'm reading it, we have got Connie, Marty, the Wookie, Mammoth Hunter. We have got Jimmy Jeans, and I'll be hanging out with Jimmy Jeans tomorrow night over on aftermath.fm on KBS Extra. Nothing planned, unscripted. It's crazy talk and truth bombs with Jimmy Jeans. We've got ZX81, good to see you, bro. Donnie, D-Light. The Restream bot is in there. Twitch, Guy Wilson, good to see you, man. We have got as well Nacy in the chat room. All you great people. Will be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. It's great to be back.
Just know we can slide out, ride out, back to my hideout. Your men are never.
Yes, indeedy, we are back. We are live. The Wookiee is here. And so are the guys. We are raring to go. 1 hour down, boys. 2 hours to go. And then, of course, we hand on off over onto Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard for the Paranormal Portal. Been a while since I've checked that out. I think after I get off air today, me and Scott have obviously got our men in Lycra to go and catch up on with the wrestling. So I think I'll be checking out what the guys over at the Paranormal Portal are up to as well. And you can stay tuned for that right here on your number one network, Truth Frequency Radio, TFRlive.com, where we do woo like nobody else. And after this segment, I'll be giving you the number that you need to bring your woo to the table. Things that go bump in the night. Deep woo. Can you scare me, Scotty, and Nacy? There is your challenge. We want deep woo, guys. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, if you think you've got something that is, worthy of raising a few hairs on the back of our necks, then bring it. We want to hear it.
So before the break, we were getting into a big shout out to Luna down under as well. Just seen Luna there. Good to see you, Auntie Luna. It's been way too long. Just glad to be here. Every show, every day's a bonus. Trust me. So Tibetan thought forms. We were talking about tulpas. There was a couple of names came up in the article that Scott was going over. So I opened up the corresponding link. We're going to go with it. It says Tibetan thought forms in Tibetan occultism. Thoughts can create a phantom called a tulpa. Of temporary duration, tulpas usually assume human shape and are created to be sent out on a mission. In her explorations of Tibetan thought, Alexandra David Neal successfully created a tulpa, though it was not what she intended and for a time eluded her control. David Neal sought to create a lama who would be short and fat, of an innocent and jolly type. Way before the world got woke there. After several months of performing that prescribed ritual, a phantom monk appeared. It assumed a lifelike form over a period of time and existed almost like a guest in the David Neal's apartment. The tulpa tagged along with her as she went out on a tour. Now, to her distress, the tulpa began to change. She wrote, quote, "The features gradually underwent a change. The fat 312 thought-form chubby-cheeked fellow grew leaner. His face assumed a vaguely mocking, sly, malignant look. He became more troublesome and bold. In brief, he escaped my control. The tulpa began to touch her and rub up against others. Oh my! Naughty tulpa. Others began to see him, but he did not respond to anyone's conversation. David Neal decided to dissolve the tulpa, according to certain Tibetan rituals, but the phantom resisted her efforts. It took 6 months to eliminate him. The entire episode upset her, and she termed it very bad luck. Thought forms in New Thought and healing in the 19th century, the New Thought movement emphasized the creative and spiritual power of thought. Science of Mind, founded by Ernst Holmes, teaches that we are surrounded by an infinite intelligence or mind, in brackets God, which functions upon our beliefs. If we let go of the destructive thoughts and replace them with constructive ones, we enter into a cooperation or a corporation with this mind that enables us to be healthier, happier and successful, and more spiritually fulfilled. To this end, daily affirmations, meditation, and prayer facilitate that objective. In magical terms, these activities create positive thought forms and can manifest in the physical world. Holmes taught that there is but one mind and that everything is an aspect of it. Each of us uses a portion of it. He taught, quote, "My thought is in control of my experience, and I can direct my thinking. And the ability to control my experience and have them result in happiness, prosperity, and success lies in my own mind and my use of it. Mind responds to mind," said Holmes. "It is done to you as you believe." In other words, do not ask for things, but declare them. This is the law of the mind, which manifests the belief that we speak into it. To improve health and for healing, Holmes recommended meditation upon affirmations such as, quote, "God life surges through my entire body," or "I am well and successful in everything that I do," followed by a period of prayer in which the prayer does not ask for anything but declares the desired results, accepts them as they have manifested, and gives thanks for them. This method can be applied to any situation or need in life. One's thoughts and motives ideally should be godlike. A key element is belief in the desired result. Holmes stressed that belief must be felt with a total being. He noted that the effect of prayer is one prayed by a person whose faith has removed all doubt. Similarly, a magician works with complete intensity of will, imagination, faith, and belief. A ritual declares manifestation. In the field of contemporary medicine, the term intentionality applies to the power of thought to affect the state of health and well-being. Intentionality corresponds to the creation of positive thought forms. See also Fortune and Dion. But that's really interesting there, because you could argue at one point it's talking about something that is scientifically measurable, the placebo effect, right? You believe something enough, it has a positive effect.
This is where we start kind of crossing over into things that have been, measured and verified scientifically, right? Like you said, the placebo effect. You give somebody a sugar pill and you tell them it's going to help them with something, and all of a sudden they magically start feeling better, even though it's a sugar pill, right? That's because in their mind they believe that this pill is going to make them better, and they've convinced themselves of that, and somehow they've essentially they've healed themselves through their mind. All it took was just them believing that it was
it was already done, not even asking for help. Just be grateful and thankful for the healing that's already happened. Your faith and belief is that strong, they say, right?
Yeah, the same could be said for those that go and visit a healer or a shaman or a many sins man.
Yeah,
if you have that faith of the ceremony, the ritual, the power of prayer.
And if you believe it's going to help you, then it probably is. I mean, if you truly believe that this is something that is going to benefit in some way, then yeah. It's it's just another example of the power of intent, and it's interesting because, as Kev was going through that there and, talking about this, tulpomancy kind of thing and all of that, it goes back to what I was saying about, if you focus on a positive vibe and you're going to have more positive outcomes occur, so it's all about that, man.
To think about these entities, whether they're brought into fruition through ceremony, ritual, whatever, if they're always there, to think that it's going to be all the time positive or all the time negative, I guess would depend on the perspective of the observer. Because if we look at the Bible, for an example, Lucifer was supposedly, the angel of all angels, but fell to become, Lucifer of, hell. So it makes me ponder if an angel can fall down to hell, wouldn't it not logically say that a entity of hell could rise up to be an angel?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I guess it would be sort of that whole, I mean, if you believe something like that, be redeemed, I guess you could say, or whatever. But that goes into probably more deeper sort of conversation.
Right.
But,
well, like Kev was talking in that story about this entity that was created, at first it was seemingly all positive. And
well, yeah, I would sure.
Eventually,
I mean, if it has flaws like humans, right? Like maybe it changed over time and became negative. Started out positive and then something sort of changed it. Or what if it was always negative to begin with and it just started revealing its true form over time?
A wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. What if we were talking about like something that was a trickster or manipulating this person that brought about this tulpa or pulled this entity forth, right? And wanted this person to believe that at first, oh, it's all good and everything. But then as time went on and it latched itself to the person, it began to show its true colors, right? So it's
I ponder if that spell or ritual or ceremony was out there for this person to utilize. They said they did it for 6 months, if I remember correctly. That isn't it out there by now that you could probably research it and find it? Of course, you'd have to wonder the validity of it. Like,
yeah. What do you think, Kev? Here's an interesting question. You were talking about that story, right? And that this person brought about this tulpa, and in the beginning it seemed to be all positive, and then it seems like over time this thing became negative. Or
that's why you got to be careful what you wish for and things,
Yeah, and we were wondering, what if it was just an entity that was just sitting there waiting to be pulled out, for somebody to be maybe foolish enough or maybe inexperienced enough to dabble in this kind of stuff, and
well, there's that, like there's the book, is it the Goetia, the 72 demons, and if
oh my god, sorry,
no, Nathan, no, just quickly I'll pass it on to you, but if there's that kind of realm where there are these characters, these individuals, these energies, then absolutely, I think it's a no-brainer what you're saying, Scotty, right?
Yeah.
So Nathan, I know you're going to jump on that one.
Well, I was just going to say, before you started talking about the Goetia, and you just kind of
see, it's synchronicity, man. We're on the same frequency, dude. It's what happens, right?
Right. Well, like you were saying in the story, that this individual learned, I think you said Hindu,
Tibetan,
ceremony,
Tibetan,
Eastern, this ritual ceremony, and was able to call this entity forth or create this entity, and then they had to use a reversal to put it back where it was. So then that makes me speculate there is this phantom zone or this elsewhere, the the upside down, where all these entities are, where we can pull them out.
The near beyond, Scotty. Oh.
Yes, exactly. And this is what our boy Crowley was trying to tap into over at Boleskine House, right? Trying to summon entities from whatever this.
Only the 12 dukes of hell. No biggie.
Right, and so I mean, just that in itself, I mean, that already kind of tells you that there has to be this alternate dimension or this parallel
thing,
existence, thing that lies just beyond the veil. And it's kind of spooky, man. It makes you wonder, what kind of craziness lies on the other side of that? You know what I mean? Like, we talk about things coming from that realm into our realm. What do you think it's like if we were to go into that realm and see what that realm was like?
Yeah, what scares those entities? Is that, what I'm saying? What scares the monsters under the bed?
What's going on in their realm that freaks them out, right? I don't even want to know what layer lies underneath whatever dimension, whatever lower level dimension beyond that one is. Nope, not good. Nope,
there's a level of woo that's been reached today, and they say that it doesn't happen every week. I'm not saying we should take time off all the time, but my goodness, it's been exquisite levels so far, and we're not even halfway through the show. When we go to the break, I'll be opening up the phones on the other side. The number you need is 213-233-3998. We want to get your best woo, things that go bump in the night. And I know for a fact you've got better woo than me, Nacy and Scott combined. So bring your best woo. We'll give you a freakometer. Yes, the freakometer will rate your woo. Would you think best of 5's like full Uber woo? Grippenführer level woo.
Yeah. 5.
Gripped in fever. There you go, gripping fever.
And I do have a new occurrence that has happened in my home last weekend, but it could possibly be my daughter, but we'll
doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter.
After.
We're there now, dude. We're there now. Go for it. Come on. You can't just dangle that one out there.
So I'm sitting at my desk, and my desk is currently in my kitchen, and in the back of my desk is the stove, and then it's the kitchen area, and then way beyond me is where the microwave cutout is, and I don't use a microwave. And all of a sudden, I started hearing things like hitting the floor. And it wasn't just like an avalanche of, because that's what I thought at first. I'm like, okay, it was just an avalanche of things falling. But then I'm like, wait, it wasn't like it fell, like one fell after another. It was like one fell, then like a minute and a half later, something else fell. And then a friend of mine came by the next morning, and I said, what's on the floor there? And there was like 5 different things on the floor.
Whoa. And
some of them weren't up in the cutout, unless, of course, my daughter left them on the cabinet. So, part of me is thinking, trying to be cynical about it, that maybe she just shoved them up in the cutout, and it was just avalanched out or something. But it was enough to give me goosebumps for it, because as I've shared before, I've had different weird things in my household domicile that have occurred, and not only just in this house, but throughout my existence. There's been one weird thing, one woo thing after another.
How about you, Scotty? How's the woo around you?
Everything has been pretty quiet since the last sort of incident that I talked about, where my brother saw what appeared to be a face or a head or something up in the corner of the kitchen window, which, you know, if somebody's head was to be located in that location of the window, that means they would have to be at least 9 feet tall. So I don't know. But no, I mean, nothing has happened since then. At least I don't think it has. I'll have to ask and see. But nah, but it is that kind of time of the year, and I do think it's because we're entering winter, and we have the nights are lasting longer, and the sun is not as intense. It's lower in the horizon, and so it just, the energy and the vibes are sort of in that, zone where things are definitely the veil is thinner this time of year. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I would absolutely concur with that. Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think that's why, this whole time of the year is associated with more ghostly activity and ooga boogas and things like that. I mean, just even the whole time around Halloween, that's when everybody gets into that kind of vibe of ghosts and the paranormal and all of that. So, but that it's just sort of the vibe that all cultures have kind of gotten in during this time of year. I mean, even before Halloween was even a thing or whatever. I mean, many different cultures and civilizations, when you start to get into the ceremonies of like death and rebirth and all of that. So this would be when all of the cultures are entering that sort of death sort of phase of all of the rituals and stuff like that. So they're thinking about the undead and ooga boogas and paranormal stuff anyways at this time of year.
This is putting me in the mood for some ooga booga horror movie type action after AEW tonight. I'm going to find something creepy to watch, I think. Yes, it's been a while since I've dipped my toe into the horror genre out there. If anyone has any good suggestions, yes, throw them out there.
Have you seen Hereditary yet?
Have I seen what? Sorry, Nathan?
Hereditary?
No, I don't think I have, dude. No.
Oh, check it out.
What's that one?
It's. I don't want to give you any kind of spoilers.
No. Is it Netflix? Is it like Hulu?
I don't know where. I have too many apps now that they're starting to do audio description.
It's a great thing. Yep.
I'm sure it could be found, but it's a really good creepy one. And I wish I can remember the name, but the director did another one that was really super creepy that I just purchased on Amazon Prime. Sorry.
There's a new Halloween movie out as well. I've not seen it yet. A lot of people say it's quite good.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, once again is in it, and I think this is supposed to be the final, the one that finally wraps it all up and all of that. So,
the female warrior story.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't followed Halloween in a long time.
No, same here.
I watched like the OG Halloweens, right? The original back in the day Halloweens, and then
Scott, I'm at the point now where it was that long ago. Sitting down and watching some of these movies again, it's going to be like a brand new experience because it's been that long,
Right. No, that's why I've been going back and watching some of the old school horror films that I watched as a kid because you'll watch them as a kid and then you go back and watch them again as an adult, and it's like the stuff that scared you when you were a kid. It's like, oh, come on, really? That's what got me, that.
Come on, Nacy, take us to the break, Nacy. Do your thing, man. Come on.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was muted, and I went to go.
See, I put him on the spot there, Scotty. I put him on the spot.
Well, when it comes to the classic black and whites, I still dearly, dearly love them. And the one that I guess that scared me the most was Nosferatu.
Oh, good shout.
I saw that when I was way too young. And I probably think about maybe 6 or 7. Scared me.
That's a creepy little character. Yep, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. There we go, folks. We'll be back. Go and grab yourself a drink. We'll be back very soon. The dulcet, deep breathing tones of the Freaky Friday Woo Crew music coming at you. Yeah. Brought to you by the Glue Society. What a bloody name.
Brought to you by the Glue Society and Mr. Kneebone.
Helping people stick together for over 40 years.
Freaky Friday with the Woo Crew. Yes, indeed. It's the second half of this week's Freaky Friday, brought to you by the Woo Crew on TFRLive.com. Yes, indeed.
There we go. We're back. We're live, boys. We're live. We're live. A little bit of voice changing shenanigans going on there.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Basil Bub with the intro.
You can, I've been playing about with the soundboard, Scotty. Yeah, playing about with the mic settings. It's all good, dude. It's all good. Good fun.
I can tell you've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've not had any chance to play with it though. Like I fixed things and then I got sick, so I've not had a chance to kind of try out some of the new sounds, the new effects we've got. But I tell you what a show to come back with for the three of us, because like you said, it's like Thanksgiving since the three of us were together before. Done a show with Nacy and Jimmy Jean's start of the week. I should never have gone on air. I was still highly not well. I barely remember any of it. But I tell you what a show to come back with tonight. Dang, dude. Been good so far. We've still got half of it to go.
Deep Woo. We've been spiraling into deep conversation and rabbit holes that have been leading us here and there and everywhere. So
not even rabbit holes. Would it be fair to say like quantum time loops? Something cool like that. It's beyond the rabbit hole.
It's beyond rabbit holes. So we've been wormholes, Kev.
Wow.
We've been going
there we go.
Wormholes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Into the wormhole.
That's a good name for a show.
I think it is a show. I think Morgan Freeman does a show called Into the Wormhole where he get to sit back.
There's one cool cat, right? There's a cool cat.
Yeah.
He's like an individual. It's like he's like a superhuman. He's almost godlike status, right?
You get to sit and listen to the dulcet tones of Morgan Freeman while he explains quantum
anything, just anything. Yep. Stamp collecting, opening portals, you name it. Yep.
I would possibly we could call it the woo hole.
I would try to do my best impression of Morgan Freeman, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you just can't.
No,
Yeah, Morgan Freeman fan, they say.
Yeah, I too was gonna try to pull out Morgan Freeman, but it's been a while because when he did that one about the penguins.
See, penguins. I mean, what other occasion would you take time out to go and listen to what's happening with penguins? I mean, don't get me wrong, crazy little creatures, I get it. But Morgan Freeman narrating on penguins, that's like something, that's epic. That's up there, dude.
Yeah, so after that came out, I watched it the first time, and then I started making fun and trying to learn his voice. And then I started doing this thing about Morgan Freeman walking you through brushing your teeth. So I would, and I'd have to hear his voice. It's been so long I haven't heard his voice to pull it out. Did
Morgan Freeman go down to the South Pole when all the people were going down there? He's one of the people I would invite, Buzz Aldrin, head of the Russian church, John Kerry, Morgan Freeman.
They probably invited him to do like the voiceovers on their training videos. So now you're in Antarctica.
Yep.
Yeah. He was given the tour like he was.
He's the voiceover and the gateway into the inner world.
Now, if you look over here.
Okay, so we're going to open up the phone lines, ladies and gentlemen. Let me find the numbers that you needed to call into today's show. It is. It's 213. We'll get them on the screen there as well. It's 213 233 3998. If I can find it again. It's 213 233 3998. And one more time, since I've butchered both of them. 213 233 3998. And keep it woo, folks. But we want to hear your ghost stories, your weirdness, your wackiness. I'll put that one over here, so
Yes. Try,
we don't
try,
give away the.
try to stay on topic. Try to stay on topic, people. We would greatly appreciate
Yes,
that.
I'll add in the phones. Here we go. Talk just now, guys. Keep talking. Don't wait for me. I'm busy here.
Well, so while we're waiting for people to call in, Kev, should I get into this strange case of mysterious chess pieces?
Sounds
that
good
were
to me,
found
dude.
in a barn to ward off evil?
Sounds good to me.
Can you spell that? Is that CHESS?
Yes, CHESS.
Okay, I was just worried that it might have been a chest implant debauchery
Oh, hold on now.
The woo is here.
Okay. Let's see. No. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. we may have to go without the phones, boys. We may have to go without the phones. I'm just saying.
Well, that definitely can add to the woo there.
Definitely adds to the woo. Definitely.
Maybe we really are going through the wormhole, Kev. That's what it sounds like.
The woo hole.
Oh boy. I think we'll leave the phones off today. What do you think, boys?
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out.
No. We tried. Next week, folks. Next week,
people. Next week.
Haunted chess pieces. Come on, man. We need the haunted chess pieces, Scott.
Okay. That's
live podcasting, ladies and gents. I tell you, warts and all, right here on
Freaky Friday.
Okay, so we have these strange, mysterious chess pieces that were found in a barn to ward off evil. So let's see what all this is about. It says there have over the years been some very weird things found in people's homes that have caused quite a bit of head scratching. Many of these revolve around the various objects that people of the past have placed there in order to serve as wards against insidious spirits, demons, witches, and other perceived evils. There was a time when such ominous forces were to the populace of many areas a very real feature of the landscape, something to cower in the darkness from. And there were all manners of efforts to try to gain dome control and drive these forces away. In more modern times, some of these talesmen against supernatural forces have turned up in the oddest of places, and some are weirder than others. In the winter of 2009, a farmer decided to carry out some renovations on his barn in the town of Burgh-le-Marsh in the East Lindsey district of the county of Lincolnshire, England.
Sounds very posh, doesn't it? Burgh-le-Marsh. Yes, indeed.
Burgh-le-Marsh in the East Lindsey district. So it was a pretty routine job to fix a leaky roof. But when the farmer was inspecting some timber that had rotted away on a horizontal beam, he noticed something strange tucked away on the beam in the darkness. There, sitting concealed within the timber and looking very old, were two old and weathered chess pieces, a queen and a bishop. With no sign of any of the other pieces, it was a pretty strange thing to find way up there on that beam in the barn. And there was no rational reason for why anyone would have wanted to put them up there. So how did they get there and why? No one in the farmers' families had put them, and the farmer's family had put them there. So, considering this and the fact that they looked so very old, the Lincolnshire County Council was notified. The pieces themselves were made out
Ain't
of
that
plastic.
typically British, but innit? You find a couple of chess pieces, you know, just chess pieces in the barn. And the first thing you want to do is phone somebody at the council.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. Why? It does sound very like.
I mean,
It's a
what's
very
that job? Keeper of ancient useless artifacts desk? I don't know.
Like, I mean, if people find something old on their property here in the U.S., like they're not calling like the city council and really letting
Like people
them know.
aren't looking at you in hushed tones when you go into town whispering, "Oh look, they didn't declare the chess piece." No, that's never happened, right?
Yeah,
Tumbleweed blowing down the street, you know? Everything comes to a standstill as Scotty Lopez is there and they're all thinking, we know. Shh.
he didn't report the chess pieces that he found in the barn.
Feds lurking around the corner, ready to pounce, man. I've seen how this goes down, Scott. The Department of Ancient and Magical Artifacts. I think that's what we're dealing with here. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting, though, that if all of a sudden, every time you went somewhere or you got in your car, you would find a little chess piece?
Oh, that sounds like one of these ominous people that have gone on to become serial bad guys, shall we say. That'd be sinister, man, you know? Opening the glove box for something else, you know, going to get something and it just drops out. Just a white queen. Whoosh. Oh, man. Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Definitely sounds like the calling card of something sinister.
And then when you look up, there's a couple of black-eyed chess pieces at the window. Oh, boy. Yeah. Did I say
Open up your
black-eyed chess?
mailbox.
Black-eyed children, I meant black-eyed chess pieces? That would be bizarre. Just stood by the side of your car, just ominously standing there lurking, doing chess piecey type things, you know? I've lost it. I've lost the plot.
You guys, do you have a favorite chess piece?
The rook. What's up at the rook? The knight as well. The knight's pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the obvious answer would be the queen, right? Because she can go in any direction.
But now she's creepy. Now they've given her a creepy aspect. Her and the bishop, I'm not too sure of anymore. You know?
Yeah. But the knight's cool too because, you know, of the weird movement of the knight, you know. 2 up, 1 over, or 1 up, 2 over. That whole weird L shape sort of aspect kind of adds a weird dynamic to everything. So
the game of chess itself, I mean, you can look at the black and white board, the symbolism there. Dark versus light. The fact that it's so complex, you know, you get your grandmasters, and from move 1, they're planning out exactly where that game's going. They're playing about 8 games in their head at one time. There's a mathematics to it that makes it kind of different as well, right? It's definitely out there.
I'm always first of all, I like playing chess. Sometimes I'll play chess on the computer. You know, just
I can play it, but not play it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I'm not like master class or anything like that, but I grasp the concept of the game and I enjoy playing it. And it's good to keep the mind sharp as well. I think, you know, engaging in a game like chess definitely like works areas of the brain that I think is very fundamental to keeping your cognitive abilities, you know, sharp.
1,500 years, sorry, Scotty. That's how long it goes back.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was about to get at. Is it blows me away how old the game is, right? But yet how complex and I mean, to this day, people are breaking down.
You think
the
about the people that
tactics
have
of
played
the
this
game.
throughout history, you know? Kings, popes, probably. You know, there's something, I don't know, something really weird to all. There's 1,500 years to its earliest known predecessor called Chaturanga in India. Its prehistory is the subject of speculation. So again, was it invented? Or was that always going to happen? From India, it spread to Persia. Following the Arab invasion and conquest of Persia, chess was taken up by the Muslim world and subsequently spread to southern Europe. And the game evolved roughly into its current form in about 1500 CE. There you go.
So there was always a form of chess. You know, like I would say the basic move set and everything was there. I'm sure the pieces have changed and whatnot, but it's pretty cool. It's an amazing. I think it's probably I'm gonna say the greatest game.
I know that the Chinese game of Go. I don't know enough about that, but it's got a similar kind of multi-dimensionality to it, for lack of a better term, you know. But Nacy, before we give it back to Scotty's scary pieces, I talked about the symbolism of the board there and everything. What comes to your mind when you think chess, Nacy?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing is the checkerboard. You know, infamous for the woo when it comes to all of those powers that should not be. Interesting enough, in my own home, I did not know this, and I just found out maybe 2 months ago, that the basement, I've only been in my basement once, but the basement floor is a black and white motif with the black and white checkerboard in it. And even to get me a little more goosebumps, the individual that used to live in this house used to be part of the United Nations.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh,
exactly. And it's funny because most of the people, when they talk about the creepiness of my house, a lot of them are like downstairs. We have one closet door downstairs that tends to open up on its own, which is kind of like a common.
You got to be wary of those doors that appear to open themselves. I usually find that's a good bit of life experience right there. If there's no draft, no breeze, no answer to it, things that go bump in the night. See, telling you, man. Yep.
But it's gotten to the point that, you know, the kids are so used to it. Oh, kids, geez, can't call them kids. But they're so used to it now, they don't even talk about it. You know, at one point it'd be like, that closet door is open again.
See, that's it when it becomes part of like normality, Scotty. That's when you've like embraced the woo. You're living the woo.
That's how it's gotten with my brother.
You
know,
there's an acceptance there, man.
There's an a normality to it that is
disturbing.
Exactly. All right, let's get back to these chess pieces.
Great story. Yes, let's do it.
It's a good story. And so the pieces themselves were made out of plaster of Paris or crushed stone, and were probably dipped in resin. The queen was found to be 7 centimeters long and depicted as wearing a crown, while the bishop was slightly smaller and had his hands clasped in prayer. Both are seated on thrones. The pieces were determined to have been made sometime around 1859, with a distinct design to them that suggests they were created from a lost mold from medieval times. These were obviously very unique pieces, works of art even, but it still did not answer the question of how they had gotten up into that beam in the first place, or why it was just that one queen and bishop with no other pieces to be seen. As the council looked into the odd case, it was noticed that the location of the pieces seemed to be very specific, namely that the beam that were found on was at the threshold to the building, in fact, just over the main entry point of the barn. It was also found that the barn stood on what had once been an outbuilding used for livestock. Considering this, it was surmised that these chess pieces had been intentionally placed there for the purpose of perhaps warding off evil spirits and keeping the animals within safe from supernatural attacks. In the 19th century, the placing of various amulets, talisman, everyday objects, and other things at the boundaries and thresholds of houses and other properties was a common practice in which owners sought to ward off evil spirits or other natural threats. These artifacts could be buried, stuffed into the chimneys and walls, or otherwise hidden away at the boundary of the property in order to ward off evil spirits or even the devil himself at bay, although this would be the first known time that the chess pieces had been used for such a purpose. Archaeologist Dr. Adam Dobney, a liaison officer for the Lincolnshire City Council, would say of all of this, "This is such an interesting discovery. We often get reports of people finding things concealed in old buildings, objects such as miniature Bibles, old shoes, bottles containing hair, and even mummified cats. These finds, along with documentary evidence, tell us about the superstitions and belief of rural communities from as early as the 16th century. We haven't seen chess pieces before. The purposeful concealment of the chess pieces makes it really clear that they were used as amulets, as indeed does the purposeful selection of the queen and the bishop. These pieces were found in the beam which was over the main access point of the barn. So I think these have been purposefully selected and placed to help keep the occupiers and their livestock safe. It seems likely that the praying bishop and queen, the latter which might have served the role of Mary, were carefully selected from the chess set as pieces that might have particular spiritual power to ward off evil. The find was reported to the Portable Antiquities Scheme, which is a project run by the British Museum to encourage the recording of archaeological objects found by members of the public. Although the family that found the pieces are still in possession of them, it is thought that there are countless other strange finds like this out there to be made, and it is truly amazing the lengths these people of old went through to protect their property from the insidious and mysterious forces of evil that they were so sure lurked out in the shadows. Who put those chess pieces there, and exactly did they, and why exactly did they think this would do the trick? Who knows? Just all goes to show that this was a very different time when magic and dark paranormal forces ruled the land. Or maybe we need to get back to maybe putting some things up to ward off some of these evil spirits, and maybe get back to some of these old ways of getting back into the practice. Have you ever thought about this, Kev? What if the rise in woo that we're seeing is because we've forgotten a lot of the ways in which we used to protect ourselves from these things?
Yep.
Right?
Ties in with what we were talking about with the monolith earlier on, you know, that knowledge that's been lost by other versions, other civilizations that have gone through these times where maybe they have had a closer relationship with things that lie in the near beyond. Is that what we were calling it? Yeah, I do think about these kind of things. Everything's connected, and with all the changes going on in the world right now, I think it would be almost an anomaly if the paranormal, the supernatural, wasn't going through an uptick like everything else is, you know?
So one thing that I immediately, when you started talking about the chess piece and the placement and the queen and the bishop, right away a more or less movie reel started playing out in my head that two people were playing chess in the bar, and the one person got up to go to the bathroom, and then somebody was being joking and grabbed the two pieces and stood up on a chair and put them up in the rafter real quick, and then came back and he was playing a prank on the guy, and he never let him know what happened to his chess place. That was the first thing that I'd seen in my head. But then the other thing is like, whose chess piece or whose chessboard did this individual, whoever put it there, take them from? Was it like, okay, I'm going to use my own chess pieces, or I'm just going to steal them from somebody else? But my biggest question I have with that story, I'll bring it up after the break.
Yes, indeed. You'll bring that back right after the break. Good stuff. We've got 1 hour to go around here on Freaky Friday. Hope you're all enjoying your Freaky Friday. We'll be taking a look at a link Marty sent me as well. And when we come back, and we've moved on to other topics, but I want to thank everyone for being here today. Absolutely top notch. Let me think. Go grab yourself a cup of tea, coffee. I think I need another coffee. I'm going to be up all night, or I'll be wet in the bed. I'm telling you. Plus there's wrestling on, so you know.
Yeah.
Oh, big shout out to Brent Thomas out there in the chat room. Paranormal portal, I can feel it firing up right now. I can smell the ozone in the air as the electricity flows. He cracks a hole in this dimension to the next for
the Paranormal Portal, coming up after Freaky Friday.
Yes, indeed.
I see dead people. Ooh.
hour number 3 of this week's Freaky Friday, right here on Truth Frequency Radio, taking you beyond the woo. Yes, indeed.
We're back, we're live, gentlemen. Yes, too much fun has been had with the soundboard today, but it's allowed. Why? Because we're back in town. We're taking the woo. In fact, this has been chasmic levels of woo, let me tell you. After watching Kong versus Godzilla and the inner earth, the mountains above and below. Yes, indeed. It's almost like that's where we are. We've gone to the inner earth of woo for you today. It's been good. We've still got an hour to go. And Brent Thomas is in the chat room. It's all going on, dude.
Fantastic. Shout out to Brent. Paranormal Portal, right after Freaky. So stay tuned, everyone.
See when you've got a paranormal portal. I would imagine in England there probably is a department at the council that you do have to file, register your portal with. I'd imagine there's something similar in the States where you have to kind of declare that you've got one of these portals, Scott.
You've got to go ahead, man.
There's I don't know if it's new or not, but something I came across on HBO Max called Wellington Paranormal, and it's it's New Zealand based, and it's just kind of a slapsticky two cops. Well, it's not too slapsticky, just in the poor jokes and whatnot. But the two cops all of a sudden are transferred to the paranormal team. And it's some of them are pretty funny.
Yeah, there was a sitcom in America similar to that as well, where it was like the Department of Woo, for lack of a better term. They were like in the basement of a laundry, and they dealt with like the woo, the paranormal that would come into the police department, things like that. I like to think there's a Department of Woo out there somewhere.
The X-Files.
Well, there you go. I was about to say, I'm sure that there is a department out there that is researching.
Like somebody right now on this planet goes to bed at night knowing that he's basically the equivalent of Fox Mulder. How cool would that be?
That's true. There is somebody out there that is probably definitely in that role.
If you're that guy, more power to you, sir. More power to you. Yep.
Hey, if you're that guy and you're listening to us on Freaky Friday, next week we will have the phone lines opened up.
Yeah, we'll get them working for you next week.
We will be more than willing to listen to anything you
but
have
here's
to
the
say,
thing,
but...
Scott, right? Here's the thing. I know you well enough. I think I know Nacy well enough as well, and I definitely know me well enough to know that if we did have one of these epic Art Bell type moments, and a coast-to-coast classic,
right,
and with somebody calling in from allegedly an Area 51, not one of us are going to buy it. Not one of us are going to buy it. Aren't we? No.
See, here's the thing. Neither did Art Bell.
True.
He didn't buy it. Of course,
we provide. We let the audience decide. Yep.
That's what Art Bell did too. That's why he let the conversation ride. He let it go. You let it play out, and then you let the audience decide whether what was said is valid or not. But hey, it made for good radio, right?
We're gonna get these phones working for next week. It's gonna happen. That's what I want Freaky Friday to turn into, dude. Truckers out there on the road sharing their tales with us. The go-to place,
Those are always the ones I like. You get like a trucker on the road. You could definitely hear it, and then he's like talking about some weird UFO.
You
or
must see
crazy.
some weird stuff when you're you're basically just transient. You're mobile. You're now. You know what I'm saying? You must come across some weirdness out there, dude.
I've been on long road trips in the night through Kansas and through the middle of the country, and it is definitely weird. Like, you do see weird things because it's just so flat. It's just such a open view of everything that if anything happens, you're gonna see it. You know, I'm sure it's the same in Australia. I'm sure some of our Aussie friends out there can vouch for this too. Like when you're out in the bush, as they say, or the outback or whatever, it's probably so flat and just nothing around that you can see everything.
Literally like an
There's
alien
areas-
world, right? An alien world. I've watched some of those outback drivers, truckers. That's
Yeah, and
the conditions, dude. That's life and death stuff as well, you know?
yeah, and you run into areas like that in West Texas, New Mexico, Western Kansas. You know, just that whole area is kind of like really, really desolate and just kind of crazy. So, yeah, any truckers that are out there driving through that, and you're just doing hours of driving and not coming across anything really except for just this crazy, like you said, Kev, almost an alien landscape. It's wild.
My stepfather was a semi driver, and back in the day, it was okay for kids to go in a cab for independent truckers. And
Sorry.
and so I got that incredible experience of witnessing, you know, practically over half the states in the continental United States, you know, traveling on these long hauls, you know, night and day and stuff. And especially in the sky, there's interesting things. And the same goes when I used to live in San Diego. I used to drive back and forth, especially when my children lived there with their mother. I would try to get down there as frequently as I can, and I always enjoyed driving there. Of course, this is way back before I got the wheelchair, but yeah, you see interesting things on these long hauls, and sometimes it's like, okay, am I jacked up on coffee or have I not got enough sleep? But what the heck was that I just saw?
I think also part of it is because you're also hypersensitive. Your alertness is you're looking for everything, because you know you're focused on the road, you're focused on driving, so you're alert to all sort of lights and clues and just trying to, you know, deal with all that. So anything that catches your periphery or your vision in any way, you're going to notice. And so yeah,
I'll be back in 2 minutes, boys. 2 minutes, I'll be back.
All right. And a lot of it too, you know, involves the light pollution, right, Naysay? Because like where Kev's located now, right? He's in Glasgow, and I'm sure the light pollution there is like horrendous because that's a huge city. So you're not going to see much of what's going on in the sky, as opposed to if you were out in the rural areas or in areas where truckers, right, would be driving out way outside of any sort of city. Then you're going to have a lot more light. Well, not a lot more. You would have a lot more light coming in from the stars and whatever might be in the sky, but no light on the ground to obscure any of that. So if anything weird is going on in the sky and you see something weird, there's going to be a lot more truckers that would really see stuff like that.
Well, I invested in my first telescope when Hale Bopp. Do you remember Hale Bopp when that came through? When was that? 90?
Yeah.
Is that 96? 95? Something like that. But when Hale Bopp came through, I bought a telescope from the drummer in my band, or our band. And ever since then, I had that telescope. And then when my kids were older and I had a little extra shekels, I bought them a really nice telescope. You know, and we would try to get out when we could, you know, beyond the city limits and set it up and check it out. And yeah, it's a whole new world to start looking at all of those little light bulbs, and like, who has the time to change all those light bulbs?
Yeah. No, I mean, I used to have a telescope when I was younger, and it was a pretty powerful telescope because I remember I could see the rings around Saturn pretty clearly if you got it dialed in. You know, pretty good. You could get some pretty cool shots of Saturn and Jupiter and all of that stuff. But I always lived in an area that had a lot of light pollution. We don't have so much light pollution now where we live. We have a little bit though because we live on the outskirts of a city, but so it's still there. You could still see it, like the light haze in the sky and all that stuff. But nah. So have you ever been on a trip, a long trip, like on a desolate highway and seen anything weird? They say. Like
I think we discussed one time about the infamous San Diego trip of when I got out of the military.
Yes,
And,
yes.
At one point, I thought I went through some kind of time portal going over a bridge, and then right after going over the bridge, there was this enormous stag deer just standing there in the middle of the road, and it was just so ominous. It was like that glowing mist, and then there was the 8 hours of missing time, and just so yeah, like I've said before, the woo in my world has been to the point that when I share the stories, it's like, okay, this individual thinks I'm absolutely insane.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, Naysay, I mean that goes back to our point of what we were just saying, what we were just talking about. That crazy incident that occurred, to you, or that that you experienced. When did it happen? Well, it happened when you were on a highway, just out somewhere, driving in the middle of nowhere. That's when the woo factor kicked in and a crazy experience happened. So yeah, I'm sure truckers probably experience a lot of weird stuff, beings that
and it makes me wonder, as I ponder it, sharing the woo of my world, that how we were talking about topas, and like when you buy a red car, or you're thinking about buying a red car, all of a sudden you're seeing red cars everywhere.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So it makes me ponder, as a little kid, if I had these strange occurrences of woo, then it just strengthened my belief in the woo, the paranormal, and from that being open to it, then I just experienced it more.
It reinforced your belief in the woo because you experienced it, and then it's solidified, I would say. And so then you continue to experience it, and like I had said earlier, it begins to sort of feed off itself. So
there's these stories as well. You guys were talking about highways and things, but you come across stories where people either witness themselves, that they're driving on the road and they pass themselves, or I remember my brother, my kid brother, he's seen what you'd call a phantom car on a stretch of road. He's a delivery driver. He's out on the roads all the time driving lorries, so he's got stories to tell. And that was a shared experience with somebody else. And you come to find, when you look into the part of the road where he had experienced that, sure enough, other people have witnessed the same car. It's just totally out of the time period we're in, but it's a familiar sight to many people on that road, which is creepy.
I've heard a very similar story, and it's from my hometown, the town I was born in Texas, and it's only like a few miles from the border of Oklahoma, and so so okay, the county that town is in is for people who out there who don't know, it's a dry county. They don't sell alcohol in that county. And so what people would do is they would drive just a couple miles down the highway to the border of Oklahoma, and they would buy alcohol at a at a place they had just set up on the border right there. Anyways, the place that they had on the border was also a bar, so people would go over there to drink because the county's dry. So they would drive to the border of Oklahoma, go across the border, drink, and then they would drive back town. And as you can kind of figure out, people going and getting drunk and then driving back on a highway, probably not a good idea. So there was a lot of crashes and people that passed away and stuff on that highway. So I heard like a lot of stories of people saying that they'd be like driving and stuff, and that they would be like phantom cars and phantom vehicles and stuff that they would see, like passing them or crossing the lane or something in front of them. And where they would see that at is in these areas where these wrecks have happened, and like people would put like little crosses or whatever, to remember whoever had passed right there. But it occurred in these areas is where people would see these phantom vehicles or ghost vehicles and stuff. So it was like, whoa,
It's almost like these events kind of leave an imprint on the fabric, the quantum fabric of that location, right? And you come around, you happen to be the one that witnesses it, observes it. You see it happening again. That's weird, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like what people were saying is it would be like it looked like a car would swerve in front of them or cut them off, like as if the car was like swerving off the road to like crash or something, but the car was never there. Like it just kind of briefly appeared and then just like disappeared, something like that. So yeah, it's almost like an imprint of the incident. Kind of crazy.
In the truck driving world, they have a bunch of specialty songs that, talk about the world of the road. And as you both know, my experience is always the highway. But anyway, there's a song out there. It's called Phantom 309. And if I remember correctly, it was based on a true occurrence where a semi driver was driving and he went up over the crest of a hill, and on the downside of the hill there was a busload of children that stalled out on the highway. And because he was going downhill, to stop a semi going downhill, that's not an easy task. And so the driver purposely T-boned and went off the side of the hill and died. But then every now and then, hitchhikers would be picked up in this one little area and be dropped off at a coffee shop, because the driver would say, "Hey, this is as far as I'm going," and he would drop them off at a truck stop or coffee shop or whatever, and then he'd continue on. And then the joke or the story goes, he said, "Go have yourself a cup on old Big Joe," And so the guy goes into the restaurant, and he said, "Big Joe set me up. I'll have a cup of coffee," And all of a sudden the whole room goes silent, and then somebody explains to him about Big Joe and Phantom 309, and that you just had an experience with a ghost ride.
Oh, that gave me chills, that one. I'm not gonna lie. That's a good word.
The Ghost Rider stuff is
Big Joe. Yep.
But the funnier one is on Pee-wee's Big Adventure, when he got picked up by Large Marge, and it was kind of the same thing where he got picked up by a phantom driver.
hitchhikers. Picked up a
Yeah.
few of them in my time. At night, I don't think I would though. But, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm all for giving somebody a
It's
help. And where I
crazy.
grew up,
Such-
you know,
such
going from village to village, Scott, a lot of the time you were reliant on sticking your thumb out, and because everyone knew everyone, typically it wouldn't take long. At the same time, you'd get strangers picking you up. And back in a simpler time when you didn't have to worry about such heinous things that happen today. But I tell you what, that whole thing, coming across somebody in the dead of night, middle of nowhere, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Definitely not in this day and age. I'd just keep driving.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, it's a much different time now. Where I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy to think. I mean, it's crazy to think that hitchhiking was sort of an acceptable thing. But then knowing like the dangers also as well. I mean, you want to say, well, it was a simpler time, but was it though, Kev? Because what was going on a lot in the 60s and 70s?
Well, these
there
serial
seemed to be
creepers were on the prowl.
Yeah, there seemed to be a lot of serial activities going on in the 60s and 70s.
You look at the highways of America and you think of the untold thousands. I'm talking untold thousands.
Now you just gave me a creepy screenplay idea of a truck driver that picks up hitchhikers, and then
only
he
the
grabs
hitchhiker
them.
never makes it to the destination.
Right.
Oh,
He grabs the hitchhiker and opens up the trailer and goes to bring him in the trailer, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of meat hooks hanging from the ceiling and a bunch of bodies.
You think of the outback as well, you know? You're out there maybe on your gap year, you know? You might be a little walkling, decide to head out into the bush and sticking your thumb out, and oh my word.
So while it may have been more socially acceptable, I'm just saying it
doesn't mean it was safe.
Wasn't the greatest. Doesn't mean it was the greatest of ideas to go and do, because you're definitely rolling the dice. I mean, when you're just talking about random strangers, honestly, you're rolling the dice big time.
But
Especially random
no
strangers
trace
on
that the
highways.
two of you have ever come into contact apart from that cab of that truck or car or whatever.
Yeah, and like I said, it's even more dangerous on a highway, because then you're dealing with just like general people like out of state. You know, you're not even dealing with locals. I mean, I would say it's bad enough dealing with locals. I mean, you don't know everybody in your local area as much as you like to think you know everybody.
It's the ones you know that you've got to worry about the most.
Yeah, sometimes that's the case, right?
9 times out of 10, it's somebody you know, right? If somebody does you in, it's going to be somebody you know.
Yep. So I'm just saying, but the Ghost Rider thing.
Somebody sitting in their girlfriend's house right now thinking, oh man, I've got to walk up the road soon. Oh God. Go walk
I know,
at home.
you just creeped me out, and I'm like, did I lock the door?
Ooh, see the things that go bump in the night, boys. I'm telling you.
You want to talk about like crazy sort of, because like a lot of those people did the hitchhiking thing was kind of like a lifestyle thing, right? They would just kind of go hitchhike cross country, and end up hitchhiking back or whatever. I mean, it was sort of like a whole thing.
I'm up for that, man. I'm up for that.
I had a friend
throwing it all away and just hitchhiking away. Let's just do it, Scott. Let's do it.
I had a friend that did the whole like hobo train hopping lifestyle.
Yes.
And
that takes a set of balls, by the way, I've got to say.
And not only that, it was my friend was a female. It was a chick that was doing this. And
that's a hard world, dude. That's a hard world.
I'm saying it's kind of for that kind of lifestyle but she did it, man, and traveling across the country, jumping on trains and doing the whole roughing it, camping.
Better some stories she could tell. My word.
Yeah, my buddy Peter Ortiz, he did it like 2 or 3 times out of St. Paul, Minneapolis, jumped on the train and rode it all the way to the West Coast and back.
Dang, dude.
and
Yeah.
and he would tell me that there's literally like symbols and little messages that tell you, you know, like one symbol will be like, be really careful. This is the cops are really unfriendly to train riders. Or when you get into these major,
Yeah, it's a whole different kind of societal structure, right?
Yeah,
There's
I
a-
was gonna say there's a whole I call it, well, I just call it the hobo culture, the hobo the train hopper culture, but yeah, they have their own, like Nase was saying, like messages and things, sort of like coded codes and things that they recognize to send messages back and forth to each other to kind of warn, give each other tips and stuff. It's really cool, man. So.
Yeah,
All
there
right,
was no point in even trying to compete with that there, folks. So we'll be back.
No, that was
3 minutes, guys, and we're almost out of here. Can you believe it? Wow.
all right.
There we go. There we go. My bad, ladies and gentlemen. I missed our mark for coming back after the break. That's all on me. Let's have the Wookiee one last time. Yes, indeed. And before I forget, if the guys would afford me just 1 minute to remind people again about the upcoming summer solstice / winter solstice sacred rocks and artifacts ceremony will be taking place over at our alienancestry.net. You'll be able to catch it on Facebook and on YouTube as well. This channel will be simulcasting this global meditation event. Be a part in the changes that are going on right now. We've heard about the Hopis and the two rivers, the two paths. Well, I'm telling you folks, last time that this was done, we've seen a flash at Uluru. We've seen all the cities lighting up around the world. We've seen the Schumann resonance go off the scale. You can play a part in that on the 21st of December if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, up in America, Europe. And it's going to be the 22nd of December, 1:30 a.m., I believe, down under in Australia. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. But you can find out more about that over at ouralienancestry.net. And you know me, I've got you covered. I'm in contact with Steve and Evan, and they're going to be coming onto the show for a pre-event conversation. Yes, indeed. So you'll be able to catch that on the Kev Baker Show. And once I have a date for that, it'll be coming up next week, obviously, in the next week or so. Then I invite you to join us for all of that as well. Maybe we'll do it next Freaky Friday. Who knows? But guys, one segment to go. Can you believe it? This has gone quite quickly.
Yeah,
if I could, since we're talking about Down Under, I would like to give a special shout out to our Auntie Luna. And if I may humbly ask everyone out there in the ethos to send her some positive energy and some well wishes or your intentions so she can power up as she goes through the challenges that she is, because I hope she knows how much I dearly love her. And I know Kev and Scotty also do, and a lot of the chat does also. So we love you, Luna.
Well, she says, thank you for today's show. Just what I needed. And a green love heart. Nothing says it like a green love heart.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Indeed.
Where are we going, boys? Where are we going?
Hey, is Bigfoot telepathic? Should we get to the bottom of this?
I'll get up. Sounds good. There we go, dude. All yours, Scotty boy. Let's do it, man.
All right. Hey, why not? I mean, we're on a roll.
Before we even get into it, then, I mean, I'm definitely open to there being a psychic component to the cryptids, not just the Bigfoot. Definitely, I'm there. I can be open to that.
Yeah. I definitely think once you're dealing with something that is interdimensional, or an entity that is not of this realm, I think all things are on the table at that point. And I think telepathy and weird stuff like that is definitely a possibility. So, Bigfoot. Can the hairy, legendary giants read our minds? Because the title of this article might sound like something straight out of an over-the-top tabloid newspaper. The fact, however, is that it's not. Indeed, more than a few people claim they have come face-to-face with a Bigfoot, and that, incredibly, the huge thing read their minds. And not only that, the monster responded to them, too. Certainly one of the most controversial claims within the field of Bigfoot study is that which suggests the creatures are able to converse with us via telepathy, mind-to-mind communication. No one will be surprised to learn that many of those Bigfoot investigators who hold to the idea that the Bigfoot is simply an unidentified ape scoff at such theories or possibilities. And I really can't blame them, such as the wild nature of some of the really weird cases that bring Bigfoot and ESP together. Particularly strange story that falls perfectly into this category reached my attention in mid-March 2007 and occurred only a week or so earlier. It came from a married couple, Donnie and Lynn, who lived in the outskirts of Oklahoma City. Oh, Oklahoma City, huh? Interesting. Okay, it all began, I was told, in the heart of the Ouachita National Forest, Oklahoma. Certainly, it's a forest that could easily hide far more than a few Bigfoot. That is true. There is a lot of, as opposed to what a lot of people think. Okay, so like Western Oklahoma is flat and pretty desolate. Eastern Oklahoma, once you start getting kind of like around Oklahoma City and the east, there's a lot of like densely wooded area. So, once you get into eastern Oklahoma, then you're starting to get like into Arkansas and all that stuff, and so there's a lot of forest. It's definitely the kind of area that I would say a Bigfoot could live in. It's definitely conducive to their habitat, let's just say. So the Forest Service says the Ouachita National Forest covers 1 million acres in central Arkansas and southeastern Oklahoma. Headquartered in Hot Springs, Arkansas, the forest is managed for multiple uses, including timber and wood production, watershed protection and improvement, habitat for wildlife and fish species, including threatened and endangered ones, wilderness area management, minerals leasing and outdoor recreation, enjoy camping, biking, scenic driving, trail riding, all that good stuff. So Donnie and Lynn intended on doing at least several of those things. Instead, however, they encountered the United States' most famous monster. It was around dusk, and husband and wife were strolling along the winding paths of the tree-shrouded Ouachita National Recreation Trail when Donnie was suddenly gripped by an overwhelming sense that they were not alone, that their literally every move was being watched and scrutinized by an animal-like eyes. Donnie's sixth sense, one that we have all displayed from time to time, was right on target. In seconds, a massive, hair-covered figure emerged from the trees at a distance of what was barely 20 feet or so. And when I say massive, the couple was talking of something that stood between 8.5 and 9 feet tall. A genuine giant. Whew, that's a big boy right there.
Yeah, right there, man.
Yeah. Neither Donnie nor Lynn had any prior interest in the Bigfoot mystery, but they instantly knew what they were looking at. The legendary Sasquatch. They told me the creature was male. Its anatomy made that much clearer. Somewhat embarrassed, Lynn said that its manhood was visible, but tiny. They did not know it. But she had to put a low blow on Bigfoot there. Yeah. So it's okay, but
they just ruined the cliche about big feet.
Oh, I like it.
They did, right? They busted that myth. They did not know it, but gorillas, for example, are noted for being far less than well endowed. In that sense, their words on this aspect of the Bigfoot's appearance actually helped bolster their story. In addition, the creature had a conical head, a huge chest, and thick legs. Perhaps not surprisingly, seeing the thing at close quarters caused Lynn to fall to the ground, her legs giving way beneath her. Donnie could only stare with a mixture of awe, fear, and dread. For a moment, the Bigfoot merely stared at them, and then something totally unforeseen occurred. Bigfoot spoke to the shocked couple, not literally, but in the fashion that they could only describe as telepathy. Both Donnie and Lynn heard the following words fill their head, but in a soothing, soft, female voice. Do not be afraid. You will not be harmed. Do not come close. Hardly surprisingly, the pair did exactly what they were told to do. For a few moments at least, Donnie decided after 20 seconds or so that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to capture evidence of the creatures that science and zoology tell us do not exist. He slowly reached into his backpack and pulled out his digital camera. In a second, the voice filled his head again, although not that of Lynn. Interestingly, do not. It was as if Donnie suggested to me that the creature understood perfectly what a camera was and what it could do, and therefore instantly took steps to prevent the pair from securing evidence of the beast's existence. The creature then strode towards them, as Donnie also dropped to his knees, and the couple clung to each other tightly. Fortunately, there was no violent attack on them. Instead, the Bigfoot leaned in close, and yet again they heard the female voice say, "You will not be hurt, and you need not fear. Go. One more time. I will see you."
Ooh.
They didn't. They didn't need telling again and managed to scramble to their shaking legs and backed away, finally breaking into a hysterical run, looking back until the creature could no longer be seen.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty, maybe so. I mean, if it can communicate telepathically, right, then it could probably project its voice in any sort of way it felt it needed to, right, to communicate. So maybe it chose like a soothing female voice because they know that humans might respond to that better, right? I mean, to get across the fact that it's not going to hurt you.
Yep.
It uses a more calming, because it's not going to use some like aggressive demonic sounding voice to be like, "I'm not going to hurt you,"
It's okay. I'm just gonna look after you.
Yeah, that's probably not the voice the thing wants to project into your mind and reassure you. So, maybe it has a pretty good understanding of the way humans operate in order to calm them down and get them to listen to them and, whatever. But, hey, it's not the first time, though, that I've heard that people have got this weird feeling of something going on around a Bigfoot,
Yep.
And that they could feel almost like this thing projecting its presence. And it's not always a comforting feeling either, like what we heard here, where the thing was saying, "Hey, I'm not going to," there's a lot of also like warnings of like feelings of dread and like, "I shouldn't be here. This doesn't feel right." And
you think of there's a potential like their brainwaves, whatever, even could be producing a frequency that automatically makes us feel kind of not good.
Yeah, whatever vibes are already naturally putting out around them probably resonate weird with the way we operate. We can feel that's like, whoa, something's weird going on around here, It's almost like two radio signals that are almost on the same frequency, but they're not. So then they're slightly out of phase, and you get
if you're in the wood or the forest, we've talked before about how that in itself has got its own energy, right? It's already like a different world energetically.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Booga boogas, hairy hands. Oh. What say you, Nacy? What say you, man?
Well, the one thing that stuck out in that story is when it told them to leave and it said, "One more time, I'll see you."
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where I'd be creeped out. Where it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, that right there gives you that kind of aspect of it. Almost gave me a Ingrid Cold sort of vibe, where Ingrid leaves with sort of the "I'll see you again" sort of message.
There's that whole psychic kind of conversation that goes on there as well.
Psychic conversation.
The grinning man. Oh. Why not? Why can we throw in a
Mothman?
Oh, yes, indeed. So over on Lon Strickler's website, Phantoms and Monsters, Here's the latest one here, boys. A Batman-like winged entity observed over North Arkansas. This is a woman
there
in...
goes the same. That's the same wooded area. That's that same patch of forest that we were just talking about that goes from eastern Oklahoma into Arkansas.
There you go, dude. There you go. How cool's that?
Yep.
A woman in northern Arkansas observed a Batman-like entity in the night sky while in her parents' in her apartment. In her apartment's parking lot. I'll get there in the end. It seemed to be otherworldly with an illuminated wing. It says, I just saw something a few days ago in the early hours of the 7th of December 2021. I was coming back to my apartment from my boyfriend's and was in my apartment parking lot. I live in northwest Arkansas. Around 1 a.m., I looked back at the night sky and thought I was seeing an aeroplane or something. The sky was clear. I could see the Big Dipper, which is Ursa Major, and suddenly I didn't know what I was seeing. It looked like a giant bird. The wings spread out, and then it looked like a Batman-like creature. It seemed to be watching me. I was trying to register what I was seeing, then it moved under the darkness of nearby trees, completely silent. Then I thought I might be seeing things, and turned around and walked away. I tried making sense of it, thinking it was a bird or a bat. I saw, but it looked so otherworldly. The last thing I remember seeing was part of the wing illuminated, and it looked like floating silk, the way it moved. Then it disappeared and I walked away. It looked dark blue. It was a dark presence. I oddly didn't feel afraid, but it felt strange. I don't know where I was, whether it was or I don't know what it was, whether it was an angel or a demon, a Mothman or an alien. It just really felt off. That's a pretty creepy story.
Yeah. And like I said, that whole area, very, I would say that is the territory that probably many a cryptid inhabit. So, very interesting, very interesting. And speaking of things spotted in the sky recently, I recently, for the first time with my own eyes, got to witness a Starlink constellation train of the nanosats or whatever. That was pretty wild to see. If you didn't know what that, like I said, it blows my. If you didn't know what that was, or if you didn't know anything about Starlink or anything like that, that would probably freak you out big time.
Yeah, people report that all the time as something otherworldly. Like you say, not everyone's aware of it, and when it goes over, it can look pretty weird,
Well, yeah, even me knowing what it was, it still was like, wow, that's kind of.
Think about 20 years from now what the night sky will look like. There'll probably be advertisement boards up there. They'll be crazy, dude.
Yeah, think about it, like all the holograms. Oh, go ahead, man.
You know how they were talking about all the space junk up there? And they were talking about, I think it was NASA, and they were talking about trying to create like some retrieval ships, because at some point, how do you calculate launching into outer space with all of these satellites?
Yeah, that's where the space fence comes in, man. It's already like a garbage yard up there. We'll have a ring round Earth in 100 years or so. I can easily see that.
There's gonna be some like alien civilization. They're gonna come flying into like our solar system, and they're gonna be like, "Hey, look at that third ringed planet from the sun." There's gonna be like this big shiny like silver ring around our planet, and they're like, "Wow, that's a crazy color for." Then they get closer, and it's just like satellites, just like a density of satellites just bouncing off each other and just creating this gigantic metallic ring around our planet.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
They say will be living on the moon by then. They say you'll be living on the moon, right?
Oh, hell yeah, with my robot legs or something.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
But What about in that Foundation series when that Sky Tower or whatever it was called collapsed?
Yeah, man.
And they were
That's a good show, that, for people out there who haven't seen it. Foundation. Very good.
and they were talking about those bodies that are just still up in the upper atmosphere,
Yep.
slowly burning in. Yeah, it was crazy.
The world is crazy, gents. The world's crazy. So what you got planned for the weekend, boys? It's almost that time to hand off to Brent Thomas. He'll take you through the next 2 hours of woo. Don't go anywhere. TFRlive.com. We'll be back next week, of course. That goes without saying. I will be back sporadically this week, I think. I'll maybe do a night here, a night there. We've got Ben Emlyn Jones coming on. We've got Mary DeCina as well. We've probably got a show from Down Under too. So I'll be saving my energy for all of that. And yeah, this weekend, I think it's getting closer to Christmas, boys. It's my favourite time of year. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we've finished up most of our shopping, and I will be playing a bunch of Halo Infinite this weekend.
Nice.
I'm a huge fan of multiplayer Halo, and there's a lot of stuff going on in gaming, so I'll be playing Halo, and the new update for Call of Duty just dropped, so...
Yes, my son is already battering that beyond belief.
Has he been battling in Caldera?
Yes, he has. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been that not well. I've not even been able to enjoy Forza. One of my favourite. I like the driving games, and I've not even been able to play it. So hopefully over the weekend I'll get some of that in as well.
You know what? We're gonna have to maybe both get a racing game and maybe see if we can beat each other's times or something.
Yeah,
go,
man.
go Sauna. I wouldn't mind doing that. I'm a huge fan of the racing as well. So
yeah, you get that Game Pass now. I think it's like £5 a month. Not like you download all the games. I'm telling you, Nacy. Yep. Crazy gamers here, man. We're all ready for the metaverse. Take us already, you know.
Yeah, we are. We're quite prepped. We've been prepped for
Nacy's sitting there thinking, I'm starving myself as we approach this mystical time, and these boys are sitting there gaming away, and I don't know.
Well, just before the show, my buddy came over and put up our Christmas tree. So next week is the whole pulling out my grandma's, her old Christmas village stuff and decorating the house up. Or I'm sorry, Christmas tree, pagan tree. I don't know what's best. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be doing pipe ceremony and breaking my fast with some turkey wild rice soup and gathering with a couple of my friends that are part of our PPP Aki group. And we have to write a contract for the reservation. And we're asking for a lot of money to get that cultivated on the res. So I'm excited.
Well, hopefully that all works out, man. Because
I think I can 50%, 60, way beyond the tip. I can tell you that. 75% confirm that it's going to be a very special occasion next week on Freaky Friday, because I believe the guys are going to be joining us from Down Under on Freaky Friday. I believe so. So yes.
Wow.
So Nacy, you need to learn how you'll have to keep your finger on mute, because once Stephen Strong goes, dude, he just goes. He's like, sit back and put the slippers on.
Right.
Yep.
He's all gas, no brakes, man.
Oh, it's awesome. So definitely next week it's looking like Freaky Friday. But folks, don't forget, I would love for all of you to jump on over onto the Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas. And if you like Freaky Friday, it's like beyond a no-brainer. You're going to love what Brent gets up to over there. He does it like 7 days a week. He's prolific. He's brilliant. He's a nice guy. We hook up with him on Friday the 13th. Hopefully there's one of them coming around the corner. But stay tuned for that and a whole lot more with Brent and Don Longbeard. And I hope all of you out there have a very woo-filled weekend. If you're into the paranormal, if you're into the old things that go bump in the night, pay attention. They're out there. We're out of here. There we go. There we go. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. As always, it's been a great week to come back. I think we excavated woo that we have not seen before on the show. Yes, indeed. It was very, very profound indeed. Scotty, so great to be back with you, man. Over to you, and then we'll have Naysay with the last word.
Nah, man, it was great to kind of dust off the coat and put it back on and get the woo juices flowing once again. And like I said, man, I'm glad you're feeling better, and you know, now that everybody's kind of got their batteries recharged, we're good to go again, man. So yeah,
full woo ahead. It's full woo ahead. And Naysay, great to be with you again, man. Oh, there's a super chat. Hold on.
Moron donated $5 through super chat. Great lurk, gents. Much love, chat. PPP.
Ah, thank you, brother. Thank you. Over to you, Naysay. You get the last word.
Well, as always, if you have the ability, or if you would please, transmute the negativity into positivity, or at least minimally neutralize it, because it's too easy to get caught up in the negativity in today's world when it's abundantly around. So share the giggles, share the laughter, and share the love. Oh, and PPP.
Ah.